Today is March the 10th of 2023, and today we're here with John Mark Beilue, who's running for AISD Board of Trustees. John, welcome.
Thank you, Dan. Thank you for having me. And as I mentioned to you earlier off camera, thank you for doing what you do, because an informed vote is the best vote. And there's not many forums out there that do something like this. And so thank you for having me, and I appreciate it.
No problem. Let's tell the voters why you've chosen to step up and run for the school board.
Well, basically, simply, I just want to pay it forward, Dan. I have been a member. I've been part of this community, this city, for 42 years, and this school district has. My wife was a teacher for 32 years, 25 of them in 3 schools in the AISD, Horseman, Caprock, and Coronado Elementary. We have 2 adult sons. Both of them were educated through the Tascosa cluster. And they have given, this city and this school district have given me more than I've given back. So I just feel like it's my turn to try to serve in whatever capacity I can. And so I made the decision probably around the first of the year that I would probably try to seek a position on the school board, just to simply pay it forward.
Very good. What are some of the issues that you see on the school board that you'd like to see addressed? Is there anything specific?
Yeah, I think, there's always a number, but I think there's probably 3 to 4 of them. And they're not unique to Amarillo, but it's one that Amarillo has in common with a lot of school districts its size. I think you have to look at funding, particularly what may come out of the legislature this year if the voucher system is approved. And so you're going to have to make wise choices with available dollars. Secondly, we have to look at achievement gaps. There's some lower test scores in certain parts of the school district that maybe because of socioeconomic factors, they trail. And we have to look at a way to what way can we best close those. And then the third thing I think is teacher retention, keeping good teachers, keeping them within the system, and making them feel valued and feel like what they do is important. So those are 3. Another one I would suggest maybe would be security. I think our law enforcement last year's identified about 9 to 10 campuses, maybe where they're located, maybe they're near a park or some open area, that makes them a little more vulnerable to, God forbid, something like we might have seen in Uvalde. And I don't want to turn our schools into armed encampments, but I think maybe some security measures would be very important. And I think it's much better to be smartly proactive than regrettably reactive in something like that. So I see those as 3 to 4 major issues going forward.
So you mentioned the school voucher thing that the governor's pushing. How do you think that will affect public schools?
I think it will affect them negatively because it's just it would be less dollars coming from the state. You would have, right now, Texas ranks either 40 or 41st in spending per student in the country. If this voucher system if it was approved, I don't know, we might go to 44, 45th, nearly to the bottom. And right now I say I'm talking about the state, school districts across the state are simply a little more strapped for cash. That will make it worse. And we have an obligation in the Texas Constitution to educate these state's children through a public system like this. And so that obligation becomes a lot more difficult when you're trying to basically privatize, I think, public education. So I think it won't do, the voucher system will not do what it's intended to do. And I think what it will do is unintended consequences will weaken the public school system.
Well, I think maybe the argument for it is that will increase the competition, which will make the public schools better, and they will compete. And in fact, it could benefit the public schools, and maybe it would be the private schools that lose.
I've heard that argument. I think it has some merit, but the best way to compete, it's not the only way, but a lot of the best way to compete is through some making your school districts more vibrant, making them more pertinent to children and families. And sometimes if you don't have the money for that, that makes it even more challenging to do that. And if you don't have the money, you're going to have to cut back in certain areas, and it would make it harder to compete. Now you can be smarter, and I'm not saying that we can't be smarter in the decisions that we make, but sometimes to raise the level, it's going to take that money that you lost to compete and be that better school system. So I agree in certain ways that, competition always kind of raises the level. We see that in business. We see that in in sports and anything. And so there's some merit to that, but there's also, I think, some pushback in that as well.
Has any other state instituted school vouchers?
Yeah, if you look around, now this is just a guess, but I think there may be 20. And there are, in my research, there's mixed results. There are some who like it, and I think the majority have said it does not do what it's intended to do. It does not provide an access, let's say, to poverty-stricken inner city kids to maybe get out of a failing public school system and go to a private school. It benefits a small group of people at the expense of a larger group of people. So it does have mixed results, but I think the majority of the mixed results have found out that vouchers do not do what people think that it will do.
Well, at the end of the day, it's really the responsibility of the parents to educate their children, and they're the ones that are making choices really as to where their students go. So maybe we're educating the wrong group.
Well, I've always said parents should make the decision that they think is best for their children, whether that's public school, private school, charter, or homeschool. I mean, this is their most important. Children are their most important, precious asset. And whatever decision they make, if they make it, with due diligence and do their homework, that's the best decision. And there's about 4 options, and parents should have that. They should be able to make that decision, and whatever decision. I'm not going to ever say somebody makes the wrong decision, because nobody knows their children or their family better than their parents. So they'll make the right decision, but they'll have, choices to make.
Right. Well, and I think that's the goal, is to give people choice. I think that's the impetus behind the whole concept. But one of the problems I think we have, and the schools have to deal with it, is irresponsible parents who aren't making choices for their children. And that's a harder thing to resolve.
It is. It's something that probably goes beyond the schools. It goes back to just culture and socialization, social being and things of that nature, and the family dynamic. We all know that's being. It's not like it once was, and it's not getting oftentimes it's not getting any better. And so you're right. Parents, as much as children, a lot of times need to be educated, or at least understand what's at stake here in terms of their child's education.
Well, I guess the best that we can do is to help those that want to be helped.
Yeah, that's
and
true.
We can't really, unfortunately, worry about the ones that don't. There's
Right.
nothing you can really do.
Right. There's, and we see that in some, you see that in parts of Amarillo or parts of any city. And those children, those kids are in danger of falling through those cracks. And how the challenge for any school district or in any organization beyond schools, like Scouts or whatever, is to keep those kids somehow falling through those cracks and lifting them up, because they're such a vulnerable age where they can go one way or another. And man, you'd love to see them rise above it all and be a success. And schools can play a part in that, not the whole part, but they can play a big part in it.
Yeah, they're a piece of the whole.
They are.
Right. Let's tell the voters, what is the role of the school board?
Well, the school board has about 4 or 5 roles that it does. Number one, it sets a vision and a mission for the school district in consultation with the superintendent. It also adopts district policy. It adopts and approves the tax rate within the constraints of the state legislature. It adopts and approves the budget. It also approves or not approve any single purchase above $100,000. It advocates for the school district, for students, for teachers, for employees, and then it hires a superintendent. You really, in terms of managing with any AISD employee, you just don't really go any further than the superintendent. What it doesn't do, it doesn't hire, evaluate staff. It doesn't get into the staff. It doesn't get into the weeds like that. It's more kind of a board of directors, if you will, and it's very specifically laid out what boards do and what boards don't. But that's kind of the 5 or 6 things that the board does.
Very good. So why should there's 7 people running
7
yes,
mm-hmm.
for 3 places,
right?
And you have cumulative voting,
right? You can vote for however many. This is always kind of confusing, and it used to be confusing for me.
Yeah.
School boards in Texas, it's an unusual one, and where you have as many votes as there are open positions, and so this time there are 3 open positions, and so you can vote 3 times, at maximum 3 times. You can vote somebody 3 times, 1 person or 3 people 1 time, 2, 1. It's just however you want to do it. You can do it that way. So
you have 3 votes, and you can choose however you want to
exactly
spend them.
And I don't know. I've never asked if you don't want to vote 3 times. If you just want to vote once or twice, I think you're still good there.
Yeah, well, and that's a problem. A lot of people just vote once,
right? Because
they don't know that they could vote 2.
But if you look at the ballot, it will have my name, and it will have 3. You'll have everybody's name in 3 places where you could vote for each of them if you wanted to.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. To me, I don't understand why they don't. I would just have the top 3 vote getters are the winners.
Yeah.
Keep it simple.
Which it is, but why not just
Well,
maybe it's never been explained to me why they do that.
But you shouldn't be able to vote for one person more than once, I guess is what I'm saying.
It does. It's a little different.
3 out of the 7.
I have never heard of an election that goes quite like that, but it is what it is. So,
well, that's just the way they have it set up, and they never called and asked me if it was okay when they set that up. And
they didn't get around to my phone either, so
that people need to be aware of that.
Yeah, they do. They do.
So why should they choose you over the other 7 candidates?
Well, I think, Dan, we have, and I've met the candidates. We had to meet to draw for place on the ballot, and we met to kind of go over with a couple of board members and the superintendent, kind of the do's, what a board can and can't do, and so I've met the other six, and I've known, I would say, three of them before this. And I would say of the other six, I'll tell you right now, they all seem to be good people with their heart in the right place. They want to do the best for the district. So when I say this is why you should vote for me, I'm not saying that they don't have these qualities. I'm just saying I know that I do. I think I have immersed myself in this city for 42 years through my job with the Globe News for 37 years. I was all around this city and area. I've been a part of civic organizations, been president of 4 different organizations. I have been part of volunteer efforts and organizations, president of Another Chance House, go on, been active in my church. And so I think I have a pretty good finger on the pulse of this city. We're diverse, but majority of us, we're conservative. We see things in a certain way. We have certain values, and so that's where I'm from. And I understand that, and so with that, I think the decisions I made, having been a part of this city for 42 years, I think I can make common sense, practical decisions that weigh both the progress and what's best for the school district with being responsible stewards of taxpayer money. Sometimes it's a delicate dance, but my decisions would be governed by that. And I think they would be most reflective of the people who live here, because I've lived here for 40 plus years. Now, will it reflect everyone's? No, it's impossible. But I think it will reflect the majority and what we want as we make a strong school district even stronger.
So it may come down to who can get their vote out.
Yeah, probably so. It probably will. And it'll be be interesting to see how many percentage of voters. It always seems like it's a lot lower than we want it to be. But I'll just do my little stump speech here. I think, the elections for city, for school board, for Amarillo College, these local elections are what really affect people. And they affect your lives and your pocketbook more than presidential or Senate elections. But that's what gets people fired up. But in reality, it's these elections that determine when you're going to get your trash picked up, and those affect your daily lives. And these are important. And I just urge people, I hope people realize that and will just come out and be part of the democratic process and vote.
Yeah, I've never really understood why people ignored the local elections and focused on the national when it's the local that affects everything.
Yeah, it does.
Everything.
Yeah.
And that's also the farm team for the state and national. So if you're not paying attention and you allow weak candidates to matriculate into your local community, that's why you have weak candidates then go up and bad things start to happen.
Right.
So we want a lot of good candidates, and you want a vigorous race, and let people pick the one they think is the best, and everybody benefits. So I commend all the candidates I think it takes a lot of courage and caring about your community to step up and run for any local position.
And that's what I told some of the ones that are running for the board. In essence, people that are, I won't say running against me. I don't see it that way, but running with me. You're part of the process. The easiest thing to do is just to kind of sit back and gripe about things, and this or that. The hardest thing to do is be part of the process, whether that's running for something or helping someone campaign, donating money, putting out a yard sign. Those are people and ways to step up and try to help make your community or your school board or your school district better. I think we were talking about it earlier. The worst ones are all these elections where you have unopposed. That doesn't. That's just not good. It's just not good, and we don't have that this election cycle, and thankfully we don't, because I think it's a healthy sign when you don't.
That's right. Yeah, like the city of Canyon, they have no opponents, so there's no election on their city council.
Right.
I don't like that. I'd like to see 5 candidates on each place running.
Yeah, sometimes the best elections are those that have runoffs, because there's so many, and you can't get one person with a 50% margin, so you have a runoff,
Well, I could see in our city council races, and there very well could be a runoff.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I guess in the school board, it would be very difficult to be a runoff.
The only way, and I guess it would be like lottery odds, is if there were an actual tie, because you take the top, pretty simple, there's 3 open positions, and you take the top 3 vote getters. Now, if 2 and 3 or 3 and 4 are tied, I suppose there would be unless you're doing rock, paper, scissors, I guess there will be a runoff of some kind. But that you talk about, those are pretty high odds for that to happen.
Yeah. I'm not smart enough to calculate it.
I'm not either.
But that'd be interesting. Well, is there anything else you'd like to tell the voters? Do you have a website where people can get a hold of you?
You can go to my website, which is pretty simple, www.johnmarkbeilue. Now, it's Jon, then Mark, and then Beilue is always a good one, but it's Beilue. And it tells about me, about why I'm running, the important issues that we're facing, what I'd like to do. I just think, Dan, we can't take our eye off the ball, and that ball is students. Students come first, and all our decisions as a board should be governed by, is this best for students? And if it is, then I think we'll be a strong district will be even stronger.
Well, the school board's so important because those students are our future leaders.
They are. I mean, they are. And, when employers come here, major employers, if one of the first things they look at is, how sound is your school district? Mm-hmm. How good is your school system? Are you educating students to be successful after graduation? And, we've seen some things like Amtech over there on Plains Boulevard. That's very innovative. That's a sign of doing just that. And I just think we need to keep pushing forward and make decisions governed by what is best for students, while mindful of the stewardship role that we also have.
Well, very good. Well, I appreciate you coming by.
Well, Dan, thank you for being for inviting me. I appreciate it, and thank you for what you do for all the races. As we said, an informed vote is the best vote.
That's what it's all about.
All right. Thank you.
We just need the people to vote.
That's true. True.
That's the challenge.
That's right.
But I think if we do all we can do, then we have to let the chips fall where they may.
Yep. You can't.
So it's up.
You can't force them. You can just try to encourage and motivate.
Right. That's what we're trying to do, and at least give them the information so they aren't intimidated and say, "Well, I don't know who to vote for." Well, we're going to give them a chance to at least look at these and where they can make up their own mind, and then they can go to your website and do more research, and they can call you and talk to you.
Sure.
I don't know what else we could do.
Yeah, I've got an email address off my website. If you have a question, fire it off an email. I'll be glad to return it and answer it the best I can.
All right. Well, we appreciate you coming.
Thank you, Dan. Appreciate you having me.
Have a good day.
All right.